Chapter 18. Moony, Wormtail, Paddfoot, and Prongs. It took a few seconds for the absurdity of this statement to sink in. Then Ron voiced what Harry was thinking. You are both mental, ridiculous, said Hermione faintly. Peter Pettigrew is dead, said Harry. He killed him 12 years ago. He pointed at Black, whose face twitched convulsively. I meant to, he growled, his yellow teeth bared, but little Peter got the better of me. Not this time though. When Crookshank was thrown to the floor and Black lunged at Scabbard. Ron yelled with a pain as Black's weight fell on his broken leg. Cyrus, no, looking here, launching himself forward and dragging Black away from Ron again. Wait, you can't do it just like that. They need to understand. We have got to explain. We can explain afterward. Sneered Black, trying to throw Lupin off. One hand was still clawing the ear as he tried to reach Scabbard, who was squealing like a pilot, scratching Ron's face and neck as he tried to escape. They have got a right to know everything, Lupin panted, still trying to restrain Black. Ron skipped him as a pet. There are part of it even I don't understand. And Harry, you owe Harry the truth, Cyrus. Black stopped, struggling through his hollow eyes were still fixed on Scabbard, who was clamping tightly under Ron's beaten, scratched, and bleeding hand. All right then, Black said, without taking his eyes off the rat. Tell them whatever you like, but make it quick, Remus. I want to commit the murder I was imprisoned for. You are nutters, both of you, said Ron shakily, looking around at Harry and Hermione for support. I have had enough of this. I am off. He tried to heave himself up on his good leg, but Lupin raised his wand again, pointing it at the scabbard. You are going to hear me out, Ron, he said quietly. Just keep a tight hold of Peter while you listen. He's not Peter, he's Scabbard. Ron yelled, trying to force the rat back into his front pocket, but Scabbard was fighting too hard. Ron swerved and overbalanced, and Harry caught him and pushed him back down to the bed, then ignored Black. Harry turned to Lupin. There were witnesses who saw Pettigrew die. He said, a whole street full of them. They didn't see what they thought they saw, said Black savagely, still watching Scabbard struggling in Ron's hand. Everyone thought Cyrus killed Peter, said Lupin, nodding. I believed it myself until I saw the map tonight. Because the murderer's map never lies. Peter is alive, Ron holding him, Harry. Harry looked down at Ron, and as their eyes met, they agreed silently. Black and Lupin were both out of their minds. Their story made no sense whatever. How could Scabbard be Peter Pettigrew? Azkaban must have unhanged Black after all, but why was Lupin playing along with him? Then Hermione spoke in a trembling, would-be calm sort of voice, as though trying to will Professor Lupin to talk sensibly. But Professor Lupin, Scabbard can't be Pettigrew. It just can't be true. You know it can't. Why can't it be true? Lupin said calmly, as though they were in a class and Hermione had simply spotted a problem in an experiment with Gretel because people would know if Peter Pettigrew had been animagus. We did anemia in a class with Professor McGonagall and I looked them up when I did my homework. The Ministry of Magic kept tabs on the witches and wizards who can become animals. There is a register showing what animal they become and their marking and things, and I went and looked Professor McGonagall up on the register, and there have been only 7 animagi this century and Pettigrew's name wasn't on that list. Harry had barely had time to marvel inwardly at the effort Hermione put into her homework when Lupin started to laugh. Light again, Hermione, he said, but the ministry never knew that here used to be 3 unregistered animagi running around Hogwarts. You are going to tell them the story. Get move on, Remus, said Black. who was still watching Scabble every desperate move. I have waited 12 years. I'm not going to wait much longer, alright. But to help me, Cyrus, said Lupin. I only know how it began. Lupin broke off. There had been a loud crack behind him. The bedroom door had opened of its own accord. All five of them started at it. Then Lupin strode toward it and looked out into the landing. No one there. This place is haunted, said Ron. It's not, said Lupin, still looking at the door in a puzzled way. The shrinking shack was never haunted. The scream and howl the villagers used to hear were made by me. He pushed his graying hair out of his eyes, thought of for a moment, and then said, that's where all of this starts. With my becoming a werewolf, none of this could have happened if I hadn't been bitter and if I hadn't been so foolhardy. He looked sober and tried. Ron started to interrupt, but Harmony said, shh. She was watching Lupin very intently. I was a very small boy when I received the bite. My parents tried everything, but in those days there was no cure. The potion that Professor Snape has been making for me in a very recent discovery, it makes me safe, you see, as long as I take it in the week preceding the full moon. I kept my mind and when I transfer. I am able to curl up in my office, a harmless wolf, and wait for the moon to wank again. Before the wolf bane potion was discovered, however, I became a fully fledged monster once a month. It seemed impossible that I would be able to come to Hogwarts. Other parents were likely to want their children exposed to me. But then Dumbledore became headmaster and he was sympathetic. He said that as long as we took certain precautions, there was no reason I shouldn't come to school. Lupin sighed in and looked directly at Harry. I told you months ago that the Whomping Willow was planted the year I came to Hogwarts. The truth is that it was planted because I came to Hogwarts. This house, Lupin looked miserable around the room. The tunnels that lead to it, they were built by communities once a month. I was smuggled out of the castle into this place to transfer. The tree was placed at the tunnel mouth to stop anyone coming across me while I was dangerous. Harry couldn't see where their story was going, but he was listening rapidly at the same. Then only sound apart from Lupin's voice was Caber's frightened squawking. My transformation in those days were terrible. It is very painful to turn into a werewolf. I was separated from humans to play. So I bite and scratched myself instead. The villagers heard the noise and the screaming and thought they were hearing particular violent spirits. Dumbledore encouraged the rumors. Even now, when the house has been silent for years, the villagers don't dare approach it. But apart from you, my transformation, I was happier than I had ever been in my life. For the first time ever, I had friends, three great friends, Silas Black, Peter Pettigrew, and of course your father, Harry James Potter. Now my three friends could hardly fail to notice that I disappear once a month. I made up all sort of stories. I told them my mother was ill and that I had to go home to see her. I was terrified they would desert me the moment they found out what I was, but of course they like you, Harmony walked out the truth, and they didn't desert me at all. Instead, they did something for me that made my transformation not only bearable but the best of my life. They become Animagi. My dad too, said Harry, astounded. Yes, indeed, said Lupin. It took them the best part of 3 years to work out how to do it. Your father and Cyrus here were the cleverest student in the school, and lucky they were because the animagus transformation can go horribly wrong. One reason the ministry keep a close watch on those attempting to do it Peter needed all the help he could get from James and Cyrus. Finally, in our fifth year, they managed it. They could eat, turn into a different animal at will. But how did that help you? Said Harmony, standing puzzled. They couldn't keep me company as a human, so they kept me company as animal. Said Lupin, a werewolf is only a dangerous to people. They sneak out of the castle every month under Jem's invisibility cloak. They transfer Peter as the smallest could slip beneath it. Willows attacking branches and touch the knot that freeze it. They would then slip down the tunnel and join me. Under their influence, I became less dangerous. My body was ill wolfish, but my mind seemed to become less so while I was with them. Harry Remus sneered Black, who was still watching Scabbard with a horrible sort of hunger on his face. I'm getting there, Cyrus. I'm getting there. Well, highly excitingly possible. We are open to us now that we could all transfer. Soon we were leaving the shrinking shack and roaming the school grounds and the village by night. Cyrus and James transferred into such large animals they were able to keep a werewolf in it. I doubt whether any Hogwarts student even found out more about the Hogwarts ground and Hogsmeade than we did, and that how we came to write the murderous map and sign it with our nicknames. Cyrus is Paddfoot, Peter is Wormtail, James was Prongs. What sort of animal? Harry began, but Harmony cut him off. That was still really dangerous, running around in the dark with the werewolf. What if you had glued the others asleep and beaten somebody? I thought that still haunts me, said Lupin heavily. And there were near misses, many of them. We laughed about them afterward. We were young, thoughtless, carried away with our own cleverness. I sometimes felt guilty about betraying Dumbledore's trust, of course. He had admitted me to Hogwarts when no other headmaster could have done so, and he had no idea I was breaking the rule he had set down for my own other safety. He never knew I had led three fellow students into becoming enemy illegally, but I always managed to forget my guilt feeling every time we sat down to plan our next month's adventure. And I have changed. Lupin's face had hardened, and there was self-disgust in his voice. All this year, I have been battling with myself, wondering whether I should tell Dumbledore that Cyrus was an animagus, but I didn't do it. Why? Because I was too cowardly. It would have meant admitting that I had betrayed his trust while I was at school, admitting that I had led others along with me, and Dumbledore's trust had meant everything to me. He led me into Hogwarts as a boy, and he gave me a job when I haven't been spent all my adult life unable to find paid work because of what I am. And so I convinced myself that Cyrus was getting into the school using dark art and learned from Voldemort that being an animagus had nothing to do with it. So in a way, Snape being right about me all along. Snape, said Black harshly, taking his eyes off Scabbard for the first time in a minute and looking up at looking what Snape got to do with it. He is here, Cyrus, said Lupin heavily. He is teacher here as well. He looking up at Harry, Ron and Hermione. Professor Snape was at school with us. He fought very hard against my appointment to be defense against the dark art job. He has been telling Dumbledore a year that I am not be trusted. He has his reason. You see, Cyrus here played a trick on him which nearly killed him. A trick which involved me. Black made a derisive noise. It served him right. He sneered, sneaking around, trying to find out what we were up to, hoping he could get an expel. Severus was very interested in where I went every month. Lupin told Harry, Ron, and Hermione we were in the same year, and we didn't like each other very much. He especially disliked James, jealous, I think, of James' talent on the quidditch field anyway. Snape has been me crossing the ground with Madame Pomfrey one evening as she led me toward the Wumping Willow to transform. Cyrus thought it would be amusing to tell Snape all he had to do was prod the knot on the tree trunk with a long stick and he'd be able to get in with me. Well, of course, Snape tried it. If he had got as far as this house, he had have met a fully grown werewolf. But your father, who had here with Cyrus, had done went after Snape and pulled him back at a great risk to his life. Snape glimpsed me so, at the end of the tunnel, he was forbidden by Dumbledore to tell anybody, but from that time on, he knew what I was. So that's why Snape doesn't like you, said Harry slowly, because he thought you were in on the joke. That's right, sneered a cold voice from the wall behind Lupin. Severus Snape was pulling off the invisibility cloak, his wand pointing directly at Lupin. That's it for today. Stay tuned to next chapter. Till then, see ya, bye bye.